My name is Jon Gordon, and I play the alto saxophone, and I started playing the alto saxophone in the 6th grade.
Why did you start to play the saxophone in the 6th grade? Somebody have something on you? Or?
So I think my first choice was drums, but you had to have braces and prohibited you from playing a wind instrument. But my mom's first husband was a great baritone player named Bob Gordon. That was part of my inspiration. I think he was maybe 28 or 29. He died in a car accident. I remembered the first time I put the horn in my mouth, I put the reed on top, and I was trying to blow it for about 10 minutes, and then the teacher came over and said, no. And I was really bad. I was the worst saxophone player there. But then it got better. Just played a bit and made kind of little goals for myself, like, okay, well, let me not be the worst alto player in concert band, and then, okay, let me try and make it up to first alto, and then let me try and get in a really good band, and I did, and get to stand up and play that solo, and I did. And I had a great, inspiring teacher named Larry Lorenzano that took an interest in me and got me saxophone lessons with Cesar DeMoro. And he also got me the application for performing arts. And probably going to performing arts is the best thing that could have happened to me at that time, because I came in there, and my audition was selections from Rocky, and I met all these people who had been playing in his classical pieces since they were 3. And suddenly I was exposed to this incredible level of musicality, man. I was really naive up until then, and I was really inspired. I didn't know anything about jazz at that point. I was just playing classical pieces. And I'm really proud of the fact that I did what I wanted to there, because when I came in, I was so intimidated and inspired by these great classical players, and I eventually was able to kind of hang with them on a certain level and play a couple of concertos and win a competition and play with the orchestra and all that. And about the time that I did that was when I heard you. And I thought that it would be a good idea to buy the Charlie Parker Omni book. I'd never heard him play, but somebody said, oh yeah, it's all this great stuff in there. So I bought the book and I started to play through it, and I heard some recordings. I didn't quite get it. I was about 15 or 16. And then a friend of mine, about the time I turned 16, played me Song for Sisyphus and Musique de Bois. And that flipped me out. And I realized, I said, now that's why I've been playing this horn. I don't know what I was thinking about, but this is really what I want to do. So I then proceeded to badger you for the next year at every club in New York until you find...
John, you were... But you never asked for a comp, man. You always had class and bought your own drinks. I always dug that about you. And if my memory serves, you were made my first scholarship student. No, you were the best I'd heard. I still think you were way ahead of the pack. I'm glad to say that I think I spotted it early on that you were definitely a talented young man. Of course, it's all been downhill ever since.
Yeah, right.
It was a treat to play with you. And it was always a treat to give you a lesson. I remember I gave you one lesson, had you writing fugue, studying the opening bars of Petrushka, analyzing
I'll never forget that,
tonal
man.
music. And you passed every test I ever laid on a cat. And that impressed me.
I was carried by pure fear, man. I said, if I screw up, that's it.
Well, that pure fear you mentioned about, we all have this hang-up about measuring up to classical musicians. So I remember the same period when I was at Juilliard. Because when you're dealing with jazzers, you're kind of dealing with a more informal kind of thing. But I mean, kids that are turned on to being virtuoso classical players, they really work hard at practice. Sometimes jazz cats are lazy about practicing, but there's no way on that legitimate size. And you really know what it is to work at music, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's more, I think they have to spend more time in the woodshed. They don't get the gratification of being able to go sit in. They can play some chamber music for some friends, but the jazzer can always go pick up a few bucks while playing as straight. Classical musicians are all waiting for that solo career. It's a little tougher.
Yeah.
But I always remember being intimidated by that, and then realizing that, well, I have something to say too. I mean, that same fear, we always seem to feel inferior because we're jazzers, I'd like to think that's changing.
Yeah.
And even the dichotomy amongst the music. I mean, we applaud every solo. They're not allowed to applaud between movements.
Yeah.
We ask for music stands, and then we keep our eyes closed.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. In fact, I remember that was a big issue for me when I wanted to do the Ibert concertino, but they didn't have the music for that. They had the music for the Glasnow. So I did that with 2 orchestras. I did that with the school orchestra and the Julius Grossman Orchestra, and they said the same thing every time. I said, well, look, nobody else goes out there and plays with music. We're playing a 7-8 page piece. That was...
Did you memorize it eventually?
I did. I put the stand out and hit it on the side and closed my eyes. I did it just the way you called it, man.
But you have to deal with those memorization techniques, and I think that's a great thing about formal music. because you're just using a part of your brain just to memorize these notes, and they might not be Charlie Parker's notes or Bud Powell's notes, and it occupies a different place. But just as a skill, I think if you just keep memorizing all kinds of music, not just licks that you can hear easy, it's not a creative process, but for transcribing and stuff like that, I think a very valuable one to keep honed. You know?
Like stock in the file of...
When Quincy Jones Band in '59, when we worked with the Free and Easy show, we were actually in costume and on stage. Billy Byers was doing a lot of the writing, Quincy was doing a lot of the writing, and we would actually have to memorize. It was a big band, including French horn, Julius Watkins, and it was an all-star band. But the thing that made it intriguing, we'd show up for 9 o'clock rehearsals, and all the actors and actresses and singers and dancers would go over there, and we'd split up by sections. The saxes would go here, and the music would be passed out for the day. And then after lunch, we'd put the band together and see how many people got beyond bar letter B, or see what section could chew up the most music.
Yeah, right.
And you got this healthy competition between the trumpets, the bones, and the saxes, you know. And by the end of the day, we were chewing up 2 and 3 charts a day. Once we got into the motor skills of memorizing. And then the hard part was that the director would call for a rewrite, and they'd rewrite it or change the key or just do a number. You'd have to forget what you'd memorized, and the next day learn a new version, you know. And with a jazz big band, that was great because we dispensed with the written page immediately, no matter what music we played after that. I mean, learning a chart on Monin was a piece of cake after you've memorized an overture. But it became like a team effort, too, and everybody's chops got very sharp, man. It was very exciting to be able to sit down without any music after one day's rehearsal, just working on 32, 64 bars, whatever it may be, and putting it all together, you know.
Wow, that's great.
And then go to the bar.
Yeah, right. Nowadays, there just aren't as many opportunities for that kind of experience.
Charles Ives didn't wait around for opportunity to write music. You do music because you have to.
Yeah.
You don't keep it in abeyance until somebody calls and says, hey, you got something in a size 5 in B flat? We'll never play the Poulenc clarinet piece, but I want to memorize it, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my next challenge. I want to be able to mumble my way through it.
Yeah.
I don't understand the word opportunity.
Well, I guess
you do it because it's a skill that you should keep honed. You never know when the first clarinet player will have the big cardiac attack and you're called in.
See, now in terms of the memorization, that's not based on opportunity.
No, we don't do it because of any opportunity. We do it because there's no choice in the matter.
I guess the point I'm trying to make is, I think it's so great that you could do that you had an opportunity with that big band, with, all those great players, and you had those kind of musical experiences. And I mean, I'm thankful for my musical experiences too, but
that was quite special. That was so special as being part of a Broadway show. Broadway shows usually have the pickup band in the pit. We need more ensembles, and it don't all have to be 18 people, but 4 guys playing some interesting music can be theatrically an adventure, and it's all too often the music is being once again ignored, except for a song 40 years old winning the Grammy this year, which I also thought was an ironic touch, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, the record companies have trouble reading the writing on their own walls sometimes, but there it is. 40, and it's not even that great a tune, but I mean, not compared to, Someone to Watch Over Me, but Unforgettable is a very nice song. And I mean, that kind of blew me away. That song was considered the best by even the people that are selling all the garbage. Also, this invidious invasion of rap music, I really feel that, they've taken away all the rich harmony of the music. It's been reduced to 3 chords, incessantly repeated. They've taken away all of the overtones of the bass line by hitting us over the head with it.
Yeah.
And now they're going to take the lyrics, you know what I mean? What do we have left, man? It's going to be confirmation on a hollow log, and the devil take the Hindemith. In the old days, it wasn't like that. God bless labels like Chiaroscuro that are aware of the market value of intrinsically good music. There's just such an incredible waste of time and effort put into this ridiculous music. With young cats like you, they're going to have to deal with that in your future. I spent 40 years dealing with what I consider cultural apathy. You're not going to find it easy to raise a family any more than I did, being a jazz musician. But such is life. I'm sure you're aware of that going in. Jazz is always so tenuous. I think it's always on the edge of perishing, and that gives it that edge.
If subsidies aren't the answer or that, but definitely education and exposure.
It needs more time on the radio and on the television and more in the schools, the grade schools even.
Yeah.
But, let's face it, those programs are being cut way back. The arts should conceivably flourish under that. Since we're not being really exposed too much there should be some fomenting of maybe some new directions happening. And I almost feel that happening. The popularity of jazz keeps popping up and it dies and it pops up. But meanwhile, it quietly goes about its work. And I think in these terrible times, that's when the sand makes that pearl. A lot of what you're doing intrigues me. Getting back to the record a bit, I do feel like you're taking it into a very, for me, attractive direction. You're introducing a new vocabulary, like Charlie Parker introduced me to the vocabulary I use. That's where I speak strongest, but you have the benefit of what Eric Dolphy left and Ornette. I mean, those experimentations plus Cannonball and all. You've drawn upon these resources and very attractively, I might say. I know your work well. You know, you do have a distinctive voice,
Well, thanks.
which is half the battle, I think. You know.
Well, I feel I have a lot more work to do.
Now you need to
I'm
be
not
overexposed. What we say for years is that, the guy's got his voice, you know. Well, I mean, if you record somebody long enough, you get to hear the voice, and that's not always to say it's an attractive voice. It usually is, but not always.
That's why I just went back and I started taking saxophone lessons.
With Vic.
Yeah, with Vic
Yes,
Morosco, who's
the
been
master.
great. Been very great. And
That's where I go, man.
I still have more work to do. Obviously, I know it's a lifelong venture, but it's funny. I've almost gotten to a point of enjoying stuff that I write, even though it's got its limitations or whatever. I don't have the same kind of judgments on it that I have on my playing. The first tune on the album, it's dedicated to Charles McPherson, actually inspired by a tune that Charles wrote called Free Bop. The vamp that brings the tune in and underlying the tune is similar to that, but the melody and where it goes is very different. Trust of a Child is something I wrote and had wanted a chance to record it. I almost tend to hear things compositionally in my head the way I sort of eke them out at the piano, and then when I try and play them, it's like, oh wow, you know, it's a whole other thing, and so there's an adjustment period sometimes with some of the pieces. But I've found for me that that's helped me, maybe when I'm playing, when I pick up the saxophone, that's what I've learned up until this point, but the tunes are kind of helping point me in the direction I want to go. Earth Song is a modal piece with an intro that's very inspired by a lot of the late Train albums. Transition is one of my all-time favorite albums. I literally listened to that about once a day for 2 years. I was very, very heavily inspired by that album, but I chose that piece to use. And I wrote a piece called Time Trap. That's kind of different from other stuff that I've written. It's like a polyphonic kind of a thing, you know, with one line and a counter line, and that's the most recent thing.
So that's your story on that.
That's my story on that.
The whole tone scale is the only device that sort of unifies my piece. Kind of inspired by Jackie McLean's kind of feeling about whole tone scales. And knowing your predilection for how you take your regular harmony, I just wanted to see how you would play off of that, and I thought it would be intriguing for the two of us.
Where I might like to go from here is keep working on my saxophone playing, keep working on my composition, and just
keep working. Jazz is not necessarily going anywhere, it's here. We've been given this gift by all of these giants, and just sorting through and finding your own way with all of this information. It's had its time in the laboratory, but it's quite clear what jazz is. We've had enough trouble with style, now it's just time for quality, good music with using the vocabulary we got.
Older music teachers of mine used to say, the only way I used to hear music is if I went and heard it. And I think that now we have so much at our fingertips that for us to find what it is that we have is a little bit more complicated. What are the things that you're thinking about, where you're headed in the coming years?
Oh, I don't know, man. I just want to keep on doing it. I'm interested in the computer and synthesizers and all that as tools to have access. I really love the idea of being able to push a button and transpose a part. As for eventually seeing live people play the parts.
Yeah.
I want to write a piece for alto and orchestra. That's I'm doing sketches on that. And working on this education project, which not really ready to divulge yet, but it'll be a master class on the CD-ROM. I think it's the most exciting of times, you know, and to continue and travel and watch this world evolve is truly one of the blessings. If there's anything that unites the planet, for me, it's the jazzers, you know. They remain my heroes no matter what their nationality or color may be. I mean, anybody that plays jazz is usually pretty good in my book.
Yeah.
And I can't say that about the sports figures and politicians or movie stars so much anymore. But jazzmen, they've never let me down.